Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Hi. You already got me. My name is David Svenson, as that fine gentleman just went through. I am from just a little town just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. We have a ton to cover in 50 minutes, an hour. So we're going to just bolt through this real quick. Any questions, anything we talk about, I will put up my name, phone number, all my information at the end. If you have any questions about anything, because we don't have time to deep dive. It's going to be a base surface level of what we're going to talk about. So any questions, reach out to me afterwards and let's proceed with that. Quick intro. He said since I was 8, I walked into my first TV studio when I was 8 years old. My parents were doing some advertising, and I walked in and those big doors opened up and it was like, that's cool. That's where television is made. From that to 15, I was volunteering for everything. 15, I was on my first film set. And I was like, oh, this is a whole different world. This is where movies are made. This is cool. So it's like the eyes and the blinders got a little wider. That moved into working at a television station. The television station worked into working at an ad agency, shooting commercials. The ad agency worked into freelancing. And that was 25 years ago. Oh, you thought I was 24, didn't you? No. But it's 25 years of freelancing. Camera operating, Steadicam stuff, doing all kinds of things, just moving images and creating stories visually. In October of 2000 was when I committed my life to the Lord. And for 14 years, from 2000 till the time in 2014, I was searching. I was trying to find a way to do what I love, and do what I love in a way that's honoring, and do what I love in a way that can give back or potentially change. Boy, I can't even talk about it without getting. I hope I'm not the only person in the room that is like that. Okay. I have Bob Scott disease, we call it, speaking in front of people disease. But for 14 years, I tried to figure out a way to do that. Well, in the spring of 2014, a great family, members of this church, were coming to Charlotte to do their 5th movie called War Room. And everybody else must have been booked because I got the phone call. And but it has changed my life. I had been praying. I knew about Shannon and the brothers for a long time. It's so weird to walk in front of a light where this happens. So I don't know how to really deal with that because I got to stay within these parameters. But anyway, in 14, they showed up. I'd known about them. I'd known of them. I'd been following their progress. I even told somebody at one point, I don't care if I have to get in my car to drive to Albany, Georgia and knock on their door and just volunteer for their camera department. I wanted to be a part of it because I loved what they were doing. And what a life-changing experience it was for me. It was a huge answer to prayer. So thank you for what you're doing here with your community and the film projects that you've done. Huge. So I'm really fortunate to do what I love doing. But if you say, well, what is it, man? What do you do? I'm a camera operator. I'm a Steadicam operator. I'm a director of photography. I'm a cinematographer. You know, those are just words and descriptive whatevers. I'm a guy who points lenses, lights, and cameras at people and tells stories. That's what I do. You can call it what you want to call it. You can make it as grandiose as you want to make it. But that's what I do. And we're all here in some capacity to do that in some way. We're all here to learn. We're here to grow. And we're here to make ourselves better and do things that serve the kingdom better through the visual medium. Now, that all comes along with the elephant in the room, okay? So let me get my little clicker here, and we'll start with what we got. The elephant in the room is this. We have to realize at some point, we have to realize that I might not make $1 million doing this. I mean, pretty reasonable. I also have to realize that I may not be a key component in some $50 million blockbuster Marvel movie that's going on up at the road in Atlanta. I have to come to terms with that, and I'm cool with that. a gentleman told me just this morning, he said, you know what? Do you know that 1 in 1,000 scripts makes it to the cinema, makes it to the big screen? I was like, man, I didn't know that either. I said, but what's going to happen is people are going to give you a ton of reasons why you can't do it, why you're going to fail. But I'm here to tell you that you need to not be discouraged by that, because this is what's going to happen. If it makes you happy, if you love what you're doing, if you feel the Lord is leading you, calling you to do this for a living, the negative Nancys, the naysayers, the whatever, go out and do something good. Create something that you want to create. Tell a story that you want to tell. In Galatians it says, let us not become weary in doing something good. For in the proper time we'll reap the harvest if we don't give up. So don't give up. If you are here to be a cinematographer, if you're here to learn how to write better, if you're here to edit better, do sound design better, whatever you're here to do, don't let those people tell you you can't do it. Pursue your dream. Let's do it. Okay, in my job, camera operating, director of photography, we'll just say DP for the next little bit here, okay? As a director of photography, we deal with a lot of stuff. And I'm just going to click through them. We deal with lighting, framing, cameras, lens choices, angles, camera movement, personnel, big, budgets, big. There are a lot of important factors here. We deal with all this stuff. And you know what? The list goes on, and it can be overwhelming. It can knock you flat on your fanny sometimes. And if you ever look at the director of photography on a project, and his head looks like it's about to explode because he's got 85 things on his plate, how many times, anyway, there's a lot going on. But how do we overcome that? How do we make our situation better? We prepare well, okay? So, we want to know the script. We want to reach out to the director. Somebody, depending on the scale of the project, if you're doing this role, somebody's going to call you, maybe the director, maybe a producer, maybe a line producer, maybe somebody who knows you, who's getting you involved. Know the script, okay? Get visual references from the director. Hey man, what is your story? This is if you haven't seen the script yet. Hey man, what's the story? And what do you see? Okay, I'm going to try to do this in like a minute, okay? I'm going to try to pitch a story to you, okay? Small college town, Heisman hopeful quarterback. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. Falls in love with the girl who works behind the counter at the library, family girl who works at the library. But that girl will never like me. And unbeknownst to us, the girl at the library likes him too. Well, he graduates. He gets a 9/11 situation happens. He joins the military. He goes off and he does great things in combat and saves countless lives and does all this heroic stuff, comes back. When he was in college at the football stuff, the NFL was chomping at the bit to draft this guy, to bring this guy in. He comes back. They're chomping at the bit. He's like, hey, war hero, blah, 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 great player. His dad, who owns the local car dealership, falls ill. And at his sick bed next to his father, he says, Dad, I'm giving up my NFL dream, and I'm going to be here with you until you see this through. He goes to work at the car dealership. 2 days later, who comes in for an oil change? The cool girl from the library. And the rest is history. It's a romance. Okay, I say all that because it comes back to this. Get visual references. If I hear that story, I could be all over the place. But if I go to the director and I say, tell me some visual references. He says, well, I liked Woodlawn. I liked the grainy, dark, moody football scenes. He goes off to battle. I'm feeling kind of Private Ryan-ish. And then I come back and he falls in love with the girl. And I just saw I Still Believe just recently. And I loved how they tell that love story. Well, I already know what that movie looks like now because he gave me references. He or she gave me references. I can be there and say, oh, I'm kind of in the ballpark. I'm in your headspace now. Okay? How much camera movement does the person like? It's really important to know. What's the time period? This is like, we won't revert back to that story, but what's the time period? What lenses are needed to tell that story? If it's a vintage, old 1970s piece, maybe you're going to use some cool period lenses that gave some cool colors and there's a lot to be. Are you using spherical? Are you using anamorphic? Are you using vintage glass like we just talked about? Are we using the latest, greatest anamorphic, cool technology that really costs a lot of money? Okay, so, well, what camera are we going to use to tell the story? I might go to the director and I might go, hey, what are your thoughts? There have been a number of projects where we were either matching up to something else, where we played into what that camera was, of the matching what it was, or, but there's always a budget in mind. We want to shoot with the latest, greatest underwater blah, blah, blah with the something, something housing and the 12K and the blah, blah, blah with the Rialto fitting and the... Oh, by the way, we want to do that for about $1,000. Okay, so just be aware, okay? You need good personnel to succeed. Who are those personnel? If I'm going into a work zone, I need to bring in a team of people that are going to be leaders and that are going to be great support, okay? I need to have a great first AC that's going to lead the camera department. I need to have a great key grip that's going to lead the grip department. So I don't have to be hand-holding. So somebody else, the gaffer doesn't have to be hand-holding somebody. If you have good leadership at your top positions who are kind and giving and they want to train people and they want to get, depending on where you are in your career, there are people who are coming in, they are doing it because that's what they do for a living and they are perfectionists at it. You show up on the other side of that fence and, well, Stephen mentioned it in the first thing, the flywheel. They were pulling people off the third pew on a Sunday morning to do whatever. I mean, I say that jokingly, but wow, I didn't know you. Mr. Caleb. But yeah, so have key people that can help you succeed. You're setting yourself up to fail if you don't have a good structure, a good foundation underneath you from which to work and from which to start. If you're younger in the business, that cat right there, I've been burning up his phone for 8 years. I ask him a ton. Wow, that's Brett. I've been burning up his phone for years. He's super patient with me. I ask him all kinds of questions. Kevin up there, the director Kevin, how many times have I called him to go, hey, if I'm doing a whatever, I mean, even down to these slides, I called him and said, hey man, if I need to screen grab something for a whatever, I keep getting that black screen. I mean, find somebody who cares about you, who loves you, who's going to help you. You need to befriend those people. Don't be bashful about asking them questions. Find a mentor. That cat right there, I'm going to get emotional if I even start talking about it. That guy's changed my life too. They've been there. They've done it. You're reaching out to them specifically because they've been there. They've experienced it, and they want to share that with you. Be that person. You don't have to be always looking for a mentor. You can be a mentor to somebody else. Let's talk about this cat right over here. Don't do the little head shake, because I thought you might be here, so I thought I might incorporate you in here. There's a young gentleman on the front row over here. I first met him when he was 12. We were doing a movie called Like Arrows. I instantly noticed his attention to detail, his I want to work, I want to learn, I want to do this. Is this where you go la, 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 la? Because you don't want to hear people talking, saying something nice about you? Okay, I saw a potential in him. I said, that's me 30 years ago. He was doing a little bit of everything. He was jumping in, he was growing, learning everywhere he could, which was awesome. Every opportunity, I don't think there's been one time that I've looked at him and said, hey, do you want to? XYZ? Where he didn't go, yeah, I've been wanting to do, yeah. To a point. In 2018, did I get this right? In 2018, got a group of his friends, his family, everybody together, and made his first short, which made it to this, and that was a finalist. It's find people that you can reach out to, that you can help, and they can help you as you go. What's the end result of the project? At some point, you're going to say, do I want to use, I'll jokingly say the 12K like we just talked about. Do you want to use a 12K whatever, anamorphic whatever? Who's the audience? Where is it going to be viewed? Is it going on social media? Because if it is, you probably don't need the things we just talked about, okay? Is it going on a website? Is it broadcast television stuff? Or is it going to be 4 stories tall and 60 feet wide or whatever for everybody to see? Okay? This job, everything that we've been talking about, cameras, lenses, all this stuff, whether you're doing a big movie with big budgets, with big sets and big actors, A-list actors, C-note per diems, all this great cool stuff that we all just wish that we were doing those projects. You know what? The same skill sets that we use on those big projects is what you're going to do when you shoot the talking head project that you're doing next Tuesday at Bob Smith's office. The lighting, the cameras, the lenses, the diffusion, all the things that make up makes something look good, we're doing it every time. So don't let the term I joked about cinematographer. I joked about the director of photography. Those are just titles. It's all using the same stuff. Okay? Well, let's talk about some of the stuff. By the way, before I get into that, let's talk about workshops and growing and continually learning. This fine gentleman over here, Garrett Brown, the inventor of this system right here, we go to workshops every year with that guy. He is amazing. He is a continual giving guy. You can learn from people who have done it, walked it, talked it, lived it, or you can also go on the internet. YouTube you. How much stuff can we all learn from turning on YouTube and saying, how do I set up a menace arm on a shoot? What light should I use for a whatever, okay? You can learn a ton by looking up stuff on the internet. Don't be bashful. A guy that we've loved for a long time. When he was younger, he would show up on a job, and the day before, he would intentionally come to me before the end of the job the day before. Hey man, what are we doing tomorrow? We're doing this sit down with so-and-so, and we're going to use this, and we're going to use... He would come in never seen gear before. He would come in the next day, and he would be over in the corner setting up this gear. And I'd go and I'd say, Parker, what are you doing? Well, I looked it up on the internet last night. You can learn without somebody having to force feed you to learn, okay? Okay, lighting. Again, surface level, okay? We got short time, okay? We're going to set up a key. We're going to walk into an environment. We're going to set up a key light. Oh, it fell off the side of the page. The key over here is this. Okay, so we're going to set up a key. We're going to choose a color temperature. We'll just use this picture up here as an example, okay? We're outside, daylight. I'm not going to go 3,200 degree Kelvin interior lighting when I'm shooting out in an airplane hangar, okay? So choose a color temperature. Put diffusion in front of that key. If you put a key light up and you have bare bulbs facing somebody's face or the front of an HMI with nothing on the front of it, it is going to, well, depending on the size of the source, it's going to blind them plus, okay? So put diffusion in front of that key, okay? Use negative fill, all this black stuff over here. It's to help shape and craft your key, okay? We want to use contrast and shapes, and I wish I should have done the reverse of this so you see what was behind it. We want to use colors. We want to use shapes. We want to, when you're doing a sit-down interview like this, how many times do you see something behind somebody in a cool interview and you're like, oh, that's cool, but I kind of know what it is, but I don't know what it is. Well, the point of that is for you to see something that tells something visually about the story, but that's not your focus. The focus is the person that's speaking to you. So we want to drop that focus out. We want to play with our depth of field, okay? Use colors, shapes, something to break it up, give you some contrast. Practical, shadows, depth. How are you crafting the light? Are you using a book light? Are you bouncing it off something? Are you putting it through a muslin or bouncing off a muslin? Are you using a mirror, shooting a light up into a mirror to do something, to put something over here that you can't get a light right there to get where you want because you're right up against the wall? There are a ton of ways to do what we do. Are you raking across the light across a back wall to give something texture and depth so it just doesn't drop off to black? Just a nondescript wall back behind somebody in an interview, okay? What's the color? What's the orientation? Is it like the example I gave, is it sunrise? Is it a golden glow coming up over the hill with these long, graceful shadows that, there's a ton of things to think about, okay? All right, location and depth. What I love about this picture, the reason I chose this picture is, When you sit here and look at this, we want to choose a location, and at the location, use it for everything that is worth. We pay lots of money for locations or try really hard to get locations. When you hear somebody say, location, 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 it's for a reason, okay? We want to have something cool. Miss Claire right here, she's sitting out on her front porch. Look at all this cool stuff, this depth back here, the colors, the depth of the porch, this foreground element up here. Just well crafted, okay? Bob Scott at his finest, ladies and gentlemen. Doors, windows, staircases, architecture. Use what you can. Anything that says this is cool about this location, don't just walk into the Louvre and go, Winged Victory? Nah, we can get that next week. Use what you have, okay? The Mona Lisa? Nah, let's shoot something over here. Okay? Use what makes the location unique. Find something cool about the location and expedite it. Expedite it. What's the word I'm looking for? Accentuate it? Okay, I left my vocabulary in the car. Can somebody go get that from me real quick? Okay, when you talk about depth, depth is everything from the back wall, back here, all the way up to the foreground, okay? Use your frame, fill your frame, tell a story. One person in a frame with nothing doesn't say very much. Fill that frame. All right, lenses. Fast or slow, full frame, super 35, zooms, primes, vintage. You can read just as well as I can, okay? Okay, we do this because I put this up there because there are a host of options. We can tell a story differently with every single element up there. I'm talking to somebody about a project in October, November. It's a road trip story across the West, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is cool. I immediately, from all the landscapes, am immediately already thinking anamorphic lenses. Just something wide, picturesque, showing the expanses and the beauty of that area. We'll see what happens. But everything up there can tell a story in a way. Like I took this picture, I used the Pancro picture right here. This is from, something from Lifemark. We used these lenses because we were doing a period piece. If you're here Wednesday, I hear you might say, okay. So there, you'll see some color shifting. You'll see some color changes. The period stuff, we're using a specific lens, a set of lenses, to give a certain color, to give a certain feel, okay? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, angles. Do we have an hour and 4 hours to talk about this? No. Okay, low angle. You're looking up at somebody. It's a hero shot. It's powerful. If you look down at somebody, it's diminishing. You're looking down on somebody. Okay? Wide, it establishes a location. Tight, it's an intense moment. You don't do a 60 minutes tight shot on somebody, which is the top of somebody's hairline, hairline, all the way down to somebody's chin. You don't do that if it's the opening shot. I don't want to say that. Okay, you know what I'm saying. You're telling the audience visually, hey, something's important. You may want to look at this. You're punching into a tight shot. If something is poorly framed, somebody is, I should have just put a picture. Okay, so he's looking at her, okay? She's over here. If he is over here, and there's all this empty dead space over here, he's kind of banging the edge of this frame over here. He's all over here, but this is where the audience is going, something's going on over there. It's kind of an uncomfortable moment. What's he doing? What's this person doing? So it creates tension. It's uncomfortable. A push-in. Is somebody coming into the room and saying something important? Did you say Titus? No. What's your name? Tristan. It was a T. Dad, burn it. Okay. So I'm going to push it. Tristan? Okay. Okay. So if Tristan is sitting there and I want to push in on Tristan on something, Tristan is saying something that's incredibly important to this storyline, okay? If not, I'm going to sit back here on a wide shot, or I'm going to punch in on something in here, okay? But it's important. I want before my Garth Brooks impersonation falls off here, okay? Pull out, same thing. It's the same thing but the opposite. We're expanding the frame. We're doing something to show the audience, hey, there's something to look at here. What's going on? Let's visually find out what story is being told here. Okay. When you move the camera, okay, this is a personal choice. And I should put out a little thing at the bottom of this that says, this is my viewpoint, okay? I'm not speaking for you. You have a choice. Whatever we talk about in the moving camera is up to you when you do your project. My personal choice is, I want something to be motivated. I don't want to just move the camera because I've got a Steadicam or a gimbal on the truck. Hey, we got a Steadicam, let's just move it. Well, when you move the camera, if you overuse it, the audience, it's like 1917. That was super cool. I'm a Steadicam guy. That was super cool. But it got to the point where I even stopped looking at it because I wanted to get involved in the story. Your story is the foundation of everything. Let the movement of the actors, let something in the story tell you why that camera is moving, okay? There are exceptions to every rule. We just talked about it. If you're sitting there on a moment, Tristan, I'm going to get it right by like out my minute 50, you know? If Tristan doesn't get up and move from A to B, but Tristan is saying something invaluable to the conversation. So if I want to move in on somebody, like we just talked about, that's a great usage for that. It's telling the audience why you're doing it. Don't just do it to do it. Handheld, totally different ballgame. Well, in a way, okay? Handheld, if it looks like, okay, I'm really going to date myself when I say this. If I say the show Cops, does everybody know what that is? Bad boys, what you going to do? The dude the guy chases the guy behind the house, and it's like this all the way back to the back of the house, okay? And you're like, just get to the pool. He's under the pool. Everybody's seen this video, you know? I'm hoping I'm really dating myself, if not. Okay, this is crazy, man. And the audience is going, just get there, I'm over it, okay? Handheld can be, you can do it deliberately and not make it look like an amateur just picked up this camera. Anybody can pick up a camera and do this. Now, I've been on jobs where the director of photography has been in my ear and says, "Hey, camera, I need a little more life in that shot." I said, "Take one." Okay, take two. I'm adding a little bit in there. Just a little moment, just a little movement, just a little life. That's probably when I should have picked up that camera and do this, Matthew's camera over here. End of take two. He's like, "B camera, I said I need a little life. Give me a little more." So on take three, how are you? It was good seeing you. And I didn't know that was you first one. Okay. So by take three, I'm like adding a little something in there. And it's an interrogation scene on a show called Homeland. And it's an interrogation scene of the guy. We get to the end of take three. Over the radio, the DP says in my ear, "B camera, if I have to come out and do it myself, I'll do that. I need a little more life." And by now I'm like, I'm going to get fired off of this show. So on the next one, I'm like, dude, it was crazy. We end up, it's like, good, big camera, good. That's the next one. We're going to do the same thing. I'm like, stress level, just like, you know. Okay, we're gonna blast through some important notes. I really want to get to some time for questions and things if we have a chance. Okay, important notes to think about. Have a plan. Not only have a plan, have a backup plan. And you know what you have after the backup plan? You got your contingency plan. Okay? If you do something and you come up with we're going to do this is the blocking for our shot, this is what we're going to do, blah, blah, blah. Something is going to, it never fails. Something is going to jump up and bite you and make you not be able to do something that you want to do. So you have to come up with you have a backup plan. Sometimes you're halfway through the backup plan and you're like, oh, we don't have the lenses for that. Or, oh, we don't have the dolly or whatever. So now you need to go to plan C, okay? Just don't be in a situation where you can't fail gracefully. You can't, did I write something up there? I think I said mess up with style, okay? We're all going to mess up. We're all going to fail, But if you have a backup plan, you can fail with a little dignity. You can do something that's cool because you planned it. You planned ahead. Well, but that sounded good on the mic. Sorry. When we're shooting stuff, you're shooting all these big, great, grandiose, wide, you're shooting an establishing shot. Oh, well, what's the shot list for this sequence? We're going to do a dolly wide, and then we're going to get a single, and then we're out. Okay? Depending on what they're talking about, they're going to talk about things that are on the set. They're going to talk about the book that somebody's looking at. They're going to talk about, over on that mountainside, we're going to do the whatever and the something. Whatever is discussed, and this goes back to your corporate and your commercial and this is just not on big movies. Get cutaways. If you're shooting something, get cutaways. Your editor, how many people in here are editors? Okay? Do you like cutaways? They cover your fanny, don't they? Okay? Sorry. But you know what I'm saying? It's such a help. Be a camera operator, be a cinematographer, director, photographer. Be a person that gives the editor options. Think ahead. Think. Preparation. Have a good monitor. Really important. What are some things that are important on a monitor? You want to have something that's got some scope activities. You want to have a waveform. You want to have, some people are waveform guys. Some people are, what's the goalpost? What's that one on that's on all reds? The one I don't use very often. I'm a waveform guy, sorry. But having something with a waveform. Have something that you can put LUTs on that if you're shooting, there's a Sony up here right now. If you're shooting S-Log, if you're shooting C-Log, if you're shooting Arid RAW, the stuff looks basically black and white or gray. And your client, whether you're doing a corporate thing, a commercial thing, or a big movie, somebody is going to be sitting at Video Village someplace or looking at a monitor and go, is it going to look like that in post? Okay, have a monitor that you can put LUTs on. A LUT is a lookup table. It's something that you can put on a monitor that gives the color. We do movies, they come up with a LUT before we even start shooting that you can put on the monitors so everybody knows a ballpark of what that's going to look like. Okay? All right. My job on whether I'm a camera operator, whether I'm a DP, whether I'm a whatever, okay? My job is to serve the project, the DP, the director. My job is to serve. It's not my movie. I am hired to create and do something for someone, okay? I'll start out with camera operating. This guy right here, Brent Christie. By the way, we were gone for 3 weeks. His little girl, one of his kids, gave him this thing and said, Daddy, will you wear this every day for me? It was one of our favorite things. We took pictures of him like every couple of days and going, you need to send this to your kid? Okay, Brent Christie. He's the DP, the director of this project. It was a combo role. My job is to serve that guy. It's to serve the DP and make sure that their vision comes to life and that I do things to gain their trust so when he wants to come to me and ask something, that I have something to offer. It is my role. It's not about me. Gee, I think we can apply that to a lot of things in life. It's not about me. It's about if the words, what can I do for you, don't come out of my mouth more often than, this is what I want to do. Something's wrong. We're there to serve these people. Hey, I think some of us know who that lady is, okay? I had a great opportunity to work with Miss Sherry in January. And as the DP, my role for her is to serve the story. It's to serve her. It's all the lenses, all the stuff that we deal with to make, and everything, budgets, personnel plans. I want to go to Sherry in this situation and say, how can I give you and bring your images to life on a daily basis? It's not, this is what I think the movie should look like. Because if I did that, I probably wouldn't get asked back day 2. Okay? We're there to serve. We're going to get into some Q&A. But if you want me to, I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to jump right into one other thing before we get to that. Because I have a feeling a couple of these are going to come up. So this quashes some of these questions, and then you can save them for some other ones. Find a mentor. If somebody said, hey, if you were leaving out of here today, what do you want to do? Go find somebody. Find somebody who loves you, cares about you, wants you to succeed. They've been there, they've done it, they want to share what they know. Find a mentor. Let's flip the page. Go be one. Find somebody. What's the in Peter talking about being that person for somebody? If I'm 53, wow. If I'm 53 years old, I got 30-something years under my belt of things that I can pass along. If I don't give that back, if I don't pass that forward, what am I doing? That I'm going to be so consumed with, if I give that information away, I might not get a job next week. Whatever, man. Come on, ma'am, man, whatever. Be a mentor to somebody, and go find one. Another thing, those people, when I call Bob Scott, that man shares in my joys, and when I need encouragement, he is the first person to say, hey man, this is what I think you may need to do. These are some options for you. When I'm down at the lowest I can be on something, and I'm like, hey man, what should I do here? He is the first person to encourage me. So be that. Keep growing. Keep asking questions. I'm 53 years old. I know nothing in the big scheme of things. Keep learning. Keep reading. Keep exploring. If somebody mentions something and you don't know what it is, don't just say, oh, it must be cool. I don't know what that is. Go look it up. So when somebody brings it up the next time, you can speak about it with some form of, knowledge. All right, workshops. We're sitting in one right now. Go find a workshop, and Steadicam is one of them. Whether it's Steadicam, whether it's editing, what do you want to do? What's your biggest thing that you're interested in doing? What are you looking to gain out of being here today, this week? Choose a capacity. Okay, cool. Editing, okay. Learn about editing. Go to an editing workshop. Do something to go find out editing things that can make you a better editor. Don't say, an opportunity will present itself. You have to seek out opportunities. Go to learn things that are going to make you a better person in the industry. There's one more in there. Did I miss one? Oh, okay. As far as workshops, I'll go around the thing. Half of my job, half of it, probably the most difficult thing about my job is that and that. If you think that just because you're a great editor, you think you're a great camera operator, you think you're a great whatever, it's a lot more than that. You have to show up with an attitude that is, it's not about me, like we talked about. It is, we want to be the guys and gals, the men, the women, that when everybody's heading out to the parking lot at the end of the day, and the producer and the director are heading off to their vehicle, and they look across the parking lot over there, and they see you walk into your car, you want to be the person that they say, I don't know what that guy's got, but that guy was awesome. We got to have him back. How did we get there? You don't want to be the guy who says, they're watching you walk to your car, and they're like, is Dan available tomorrow? Can Sarah come in tomorrow? Yeah. Nah. Okay? We don't want to be that person. So every day when you show up on a job, this is one thing that I really want to hit on. Every day when you show up to a job, you have an opportunity every single day to prove that you deserve to be there tomorrow. Because if I show up and act like a horse's patoot on somebody's job on a Monday, you think I'm coming back on a Tuesday? I gotta learn another way to pay for my power bill and pay for my kids' education. Okay? It's all about who you are, your attitude, and what you bring to the table every single day that is not pointing a lens at somebody, that's not pushing a button on an editor, and you can do it whether you're on a $50 million movie or shooting a corporate sit-down interview next Tuesday at somebody's office. Communication. Being able to talk with somebody and listen. Listen. So under important. I think I left my vocabulary in the car. I was trying to say something different, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay, tips and tricks. You go to workshops. Every time I pick this thing up, I have a drive home at the end of the day that says, what did I learn? Where did I fail? Where did I succeed? How can I get better tomorrow? And you do it by not only learning and continuing to grow, but learning those tricks, learning those tips, the things that make you, the thing that make me in this get the shot on take 2 or 3 that takes somebody else 10 takes to get. That's where I want to be. But to get there, I need to learn and continue to grow and not just say, I picked that thing up a week ago, but I got a job tomorrow. It's like riding a bike, Keep learning. Humility. Huge. Huge. One thing that Stephen says, it's one of my favorite things that Stephen says. Stephen Kendrick, I'm looking at shit if you're on road 2. Stephen said something at, I think we were on Overcomer. He said, and I'm going to butcher this, but in a ballpark. He said, if I could tell you something that was going to make you more people like you, was going to get you more jobs, and he listed off this handful of things, all these great things that could happen. And then he paused for a second. He said, if that all came down to one thing, would you want to know what that one thing was? That. Okay? It doesn't matter how good I am at my job if I am not a good person. So show up and be humble. Put others and the project before yourself. You have a chance every single day to inspire, empower, encourage somebody or flip the table and make them walk away torn down or discouraged. It's up to you. Who do you want to be? Make joy a choice. My 7th grade English teacher walked in on day 1. Can't remember her name. Miss Machen, whatever. Walked in. As big as she could write it across the board. She said, the only and last freedom that you have is the freedom to choose your attitude. Choose to show up and be joyful. Just learned, somebody said an acronym the other day. What is it? Jesus, others, and yourself? Am I thinking the right thing? But they made an acronym out of joy. It was really cool. We're all going to have good days. We're all going to have bad ones. But bringing that joy to the table every day is going to help you get through the tough times. If I drive up to set and 5 things are going on at the house, I got bills to pay, so-and-so just failed a whatever test, my aunt's in the hospital, there can be a host of things going on. But when I step out of that car and I walk up to set, I need to, if I can, flip that switch and say, I'm here for this right now, and I need to bring a great attitude, and I need to look at somebody else and be upbeat and joyful and do my job with that in mind. We all know power drains. We all work with or have worked with people that you're like, I think I referred to it as negative Nancy earlier, negative naysayer or whatever, negative Ned. Be the spark plug in the group, not the person who's, well, I guess we could go move that C-stand. Do you want it over here? Okay. You know what I'm talking about. Be that person. Okay. really cool. In 2014, that answered a prayer to get on some of these projects that the Kendricks have been kind enough to allow me to be on. Something happened to me that had never happened to me before. Somebody from their team, from their prayer team, said, "How can we be praying for you? We're going to be together for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it wound up being. How can we be praying for you?" I have since crafted and continue to massage something that is written that when I go onto a job, I want to be kind, giving, patient, a good leader, a good listener, key, and I want to be proactive and decisive in my choices. We can all be this. It's a personal choice. Yes, it's lighting. Yes, it's lenses. Yes, it's cameras. Yes, it's budgets. Yes, it's personnel. It's all of those things. But all of those things start there. Okay. If you need to contact me afterwards, I'm going to leave this up afterwards. If anything we talked about, we're talking surface level. We talked about a ton of stuff, okay? But what are things, anything camera-wise, lighting-wise, cinematography-wise, whatever, what are some things that you have questions about that, of course, in 50 whatever minutes we did not cover? Anybody, thoughts, hands, anything that we can chat about? Yes, sir. Tell me your name.
My name is Michael Thomas.
Hey, Michael.
I actually animate, but in animation we also have to make these choices.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in animation we have to make choices about lenses as well. Can you recommend a particular online course or YouTube channel? I'm sorry. Can you recommend a particular YouTube channel or online course that you found helpful specifically?
For animation or for
your craft? For your
craft.
Oh
my goodness. Do you have an hour and a half? I literally, when we were, we all, by the way, there's not a lot that's original. Okay, does everybody agree? Everybody had notes? Okay. I'm literally scanning through things on the web to go, what's really important to talk about in 55 minutes? Came across a host of channels, a host of, do me a favor, get with me afterwards, because there was one series that I fell in love with that didn't even know existed, and it covers a host of topics. It was excellent. Come up to me afterwards or get with me afterwards and remind me of what you just said. Because there was one I was like, I'm literally, everything from camera movement to lenses to and I'm like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. I want to read that one. And they're like things that could be anywhere from 6 minutes to YouTube you in the film world is, now granted, you can rabbit hole like crazy, am I right? You have to choose wisely. If you go into something and it's not something that you think it is, or it's not hitting on exactly what you want to know about, go somewhere else, find something else. But yes, get with me afterwards. Oh, I should have been smart enough and wrote down a couple of those because some of them were really great. Absolutely. No, Caleb, no questions for you, sir. Sir, I'm kidding. How are you doing? Any questions about tomorrow as you're pondering, hopefully? Come on, ask away. There are no silly questions. Yes, sir, what's up?
Do you view this job as a nomadic job where you're away from your family a lot?
Great question.
Do you bring your family on set much?
Great question. A lot of jobs that I do that are not features, when we came to Columbus to do Overcomer, your group was kind enough to put me in a place that my family could come be with me. It was the coolest, awesome, most awesome thing that this is not important when you can be doing something for your family and giving your family an opportunity to come be with you. The fact that Abigail got a chance to come down and be on that set and work with us on that project, yes, family is super important. I will to the flip side of that. When I'm not working on movies or things like that, I'm doing a lot of broadcast television. Broadcast television is, I'm based out of Charlotte. What's in Charlotte? A lot of banking, a lot of sports, and a lot of cars going in circles. NASCAR, okay? So I may leave on a Thursday and come home on a Monday. Julie doesn't want to go to Pocono, where I've been for the last 22 years or whatever. She has no desire to go to Dover, Delaware to watch cars going around. So it's hard, depending on what you do. So yes, it can be that way. Finding ways to find the balance. As I'm looking around to see, I talked with somebody this morning about finding the balance. Okay. Buzz Moyer, John Buzz Moyer, IMDb him. He's got an IMDb page about that long, okay? He's been there, done that. He's amazing. Buzz came to one of our workshops. He was he was like the biggest name we've had at one of these workshops, other than Garrett. Biggest names we've had at this smaller, came to Asbury. Came to a small workshop. We do it at a university in Kentucky. We're like 2 days in. Everybody goes out to dinner. Buzz is sitting at the end of the table. Somebody says to Buzz at some point, Buzz, I've seen your IMDb, man, blah, 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 big projects, dude, been there, done that, blah, blah, blah. Would you change anything? Buzz pauses for a second. He had just taken his son and dropped his son off at college 3 weeks prior. Buzz starts telling the story of dropping his son off at college. They load in, they go get something to eat before Buzz gets on the road to head back to Pennsylvania. He is sitting in the restaurant with his son, and he asks his son the question. It's a big change in your life, big step. I hope I've been everything that I could be for you. God, you can't even as a dad say those words, without getting a little bit. And his son went on to tell him, and as Buzz starts to just flow tears in front of 20-something people that he knows nothing of, he starts telling the story of how his son said to him, Dad, when you were home, you gave us everything. We were never wanting for paying our power bill, going to good schools, having shoes on our feet, books to read from, food on the table. Dad, when you were home, you gave us everything. He says, I just wish you were home more. Because Buzz, being on these big movies, he's gone for 6 weeks at a time. He may be gone. He may do 4 movies a year, and he may be gone 5 months out of the year, 6 months out of the year. Making that family time, finding that, sorry to run with this, I'm so sorry, Jen. Finding that time, that balance between work and family. I fight it every month, every week, every time the phone rings. I have to think, how is this going to affect Julie? How's it going to affect, there are 2 opportunities for me this fall. My middle daughter is about to start her senior year and is athletic. She's going to do volleyball and basketball. I have to think about how, if I'm gone for 6 weeks, how it's going to affect my daughter and the way she looks at her father in the senior year of high school. So it's a constant struggle. It's a constant battle. Talking about mentors, reach out to people that have been there. Get there. See, hey, man, how did you deal with that? Hey, ma'am, how did you deal with that? You were gone all day. Reach out to people. But finding that balance and loving up on your family is so incredibly important. And sometimes you just got to say no. Sometimes you could be the coolest job with the A-list actor and the money is just, budget, don't worry about it. Just charge whatever you want. But it's right when it's my 20th wedding anniversary. It doesn't matter what it is. It's my wife. It's my relationship with my family. Okay. You get the gist. Great question. Super important. Yes, sir.
If you say not doing a non-faith-based project, and you ask to film something that's compromising your faith, how do you deal with that?
Somebody just brought this up. You are going to find, that's another excellent question. There are times in your growth, in your career path, in your journey, however you want to call it, you're going to get a phone call. Hey, you want to go do a blah, 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 blah? And let's say I'm here on the ladder. And for me to get to here, I've got only a certain amount of opportunities come along. Sometimes you have to weigh those opportunities. Sometimes you may have to take something to get an opportunity to do something. But let your heart, let your values lead the charge. There's one thing, when I look at my IMDb, and somebody said, I was looking at your IMDb, we were doing some workshop somewhere, and somebody said, I was looking at your IMDb, I noticed you do a lot of faith-based projects and blah, 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 blah. So what's that 10 rules of sleeping around or something? That was 10 plus years ago or more. I didn't want, hey, there's a movie coming to Charlotte. You want to work on it? You can be the B camera Steadicam operator on a movie in Charlotte. And this is well before I got involved with these fine folks. I'm looking for any opportunity to get this thing working for me to learn. Hey, there's a movie coming to Charlotte, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'd love to. That's great. I'd love to do that. Don't know what the script is. Don't know who the actors are. Don't know anything about it. I show up on day one. The call sheet comes out the night before the day one. 10 rules of sleeping around. What? When you're a camera operator, unless you know somebody, you may not even get a script. You may show up and look at your sides to know what the storyline is for the day, for whatever. Can I tell you that for 6 weeks that summer, I'd show up at church on a Sunday morning, and somebody would go, hey man, I ain't seen you around town a lot, blah, 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 blah. What you been working on? Did they change the shutters on the outside of the building? What was that? This is beautiful. What is that? What is that, velvet? That's beautiful. Avoiding the topic of what it was. I was embarrassed to talk about what it was. So there are going to be times where you take projects, you may not even know what they are. Yes. But let me tell you this. Get to a point where you can ask those questions. Hey, can you tell me a little bit about your project? Tell me a little bit about the content. Tell me who's involved. You probably can't ask who's involved, because depending on the scale, they're going to go, next call. But when they're looking to fill positions, get to a point, hopefully, and don't be bashful, don't be shy to ask questions about what. Tell me, I'd love to work on your project. Now, I say, hey, that'd be great. Love to talk to you about your project. Tell me a little bit more about your project. What's the storyline? Oh, really? Blah, blah, blah. So tell me what there are a host of questions you can ask so you don't find yourself in that situation. It is a tricky, precarious place. And sometimes you find yourself, and if you show up and you're doing something, then you have to say, how do I get out of it? Do you say, and you don't just show up, day 3, and there's a young lady that doesn't have a top on, or somebody's yelling words that we don't want to say in front of our kids in every third line of the movie. And you say, this is something for me to consider. I may not want to be here. Then you have to say, okay, how do I get out of this? You don't just scream it from a mountaintop. You have to go up the chain of command. You have to go to the DP. You may go, hey, by the way, and there's nothing wrong with saying, by the way, I love this profession. I love what I do. But the content that we're dealing with is something that I wasn't privy to prior to being here. I probably wouldn't have taken the job. I really respect what you guys are doing, but can I potentially help you find somebody to replace me, and I'll stay until we do. That falls into the political side of things. The whole political side of our job is one of the most difficult portions of our job. How do you deal with people? How do you say things in a political, PC way to do it in the right way? There's a right way and a wrong way. It's a really good question, and one that is really dear to my heart because of that one situation. Nobody from the side of the room. I need somebody from the side of the room. Come on. Come on, Matthew. Come on. Hey, you got a slide dedicated to you, for crying out loud. You're not going to ask a question? No, I was kidding. Just kidding. Anybody questions? We have, were we supposed to be done at 4? or wrapping by whatever. Okay, all right.
All right, let's say thank you to Dave Swenson, please.